Hey there everyone, and welcome to the channel. My name's Jared, also known as Sir Blinken. So today we're going to be doing a video talking about the new Mac Studio. Hopefully you guys have seen already that I did an unboxing of my new computer. I did in fact decide to go with the M1 Max variant of the new Mac Studio that just released within the past month. So I know when I was doing research that there was a lot of questions as to whether or not I should go with the M1 Max or the M1 Ultra variant. And for me, my personal decision, I decided to go with the M1 Max. And I figured that I'd kind of go over why I decided to go with the M1 Max and why I don't really think that the M1 Ultra is that great of a computer for most people. Obviously, the M1 Ultra has two M1 Max chips fused together to make an Ultra chip. But they kind of advertised it as though it was going to have twice the power then. Twice the cores, twice the GPU, twice the memory, twice everything. But from every benchmark that I've seen, you're going to be lucky to get a 50% boost, and in most cases, you're only really going to get a 25% boost in performance from going from the M1 Max to the M1 Ultra. And I think that that comes down to really the Mac OS. So much stuff out there just isn't optimized to run on Mac. And the stuff that is runs so well already, and this M1 Max is so amazing that, you know, if you go from 98 to 99% efficiency, yay, but that's only really a 1% increase. Like, it can be 50% better, but only gain 1% in speed. Just doesn't really seem worth it, especially when you're looking at a $2,000 price increase. And from everything I've seen, there's not really that many scenarios that that upgrade is even going to give you a 1% in a real world test. You know, the purpose for my channel here is to be real world applications, real world use, and the Ultra, unless you're in a music production studio or you're doing, 15 streams of 8K video, just doesn't seem worth it. The M1 Max can do, I think it's like 8 streams of 4K or maybe even 8 streams of 8K, which is still an insane amount of data to be processing that 99.9% of users will never use. And so for me, that $2,000 extra to go from the M1 Max to the M1 Ultra just isn't worth it. Now, I did acknowledge the fact when I did the unboxing for this guy that I did upgrade this a bit. I did go from the 16 core to the 32 core GPU, which then also has 32 gigs of unified memory, and I upgraded the storage in there from a 500 gig to a 1 terabyte hard drive. So with those two combined, it was a $300 increase. I think that's well worth it. I don't think that, so I mean, still at that point you're going then from $2,400 out the door to $4,000. So you're only at $1,600 difference, but you're still not even at $1,600 getting that much of a difference going from this to the M1 Ultra. I know one of the big reasons why I was really contemplating doing the Ultra was for gaming. Is the Ultra going to be that much faster to be able to actually run games? As some of you may or may not know, is that most games are optimized for Windows and aren't really optimized to run on Mac. So you end up having to use a lot of third-party apps and either do like a virtual PC and then run Windows 10 over your Mac OS in order to be able to run games in there. But then now you're taking the performance from the Mac and then having to run the system, run a virtual system, and then run the game. And it's just not going to work right. Unfortunately, a lot of these issues could be very easily fixed if Apple actually wanted people to game on them. They could very easily either buy a gaming studio or work with existing studios to actually encourage them to release games that function on the Mac. There are games like World of Warcraft that are actually optimized for it that will run amazingly. But even if you're running on the M1 Max versus the M1 Ultra, there's not that big of a difference. There's a little bit from what I've seen. There's not that big. So once again, it's not worth it. Unless you're planning on playing World of Warcraft exclusively, it's not worth the upgrade. And even if you are, I still don't know if it's worth the upgrade. So for me, the M1 Max just makes more sense. And if you're really wanting to game, then my suggestion is to still buy the M1 Max, because for $1,600 extra, if you're going with this one, or if you're going the full $2,000 extra, you can get a lot of extra kit or accessories to go with the Max versus the Ultra. One thing I want to point out is for this, if you want a $2,000 and we go, okay, so you have a $2,000 extra budget. Now we're going to bring this guy in. iPad Pro, $1,200. So now you're looking at $3,200 if you had the base model of this. Okay, so we have $800 to go through. Okay, now we're going to bring in this guy. The elusive PS5. Ed Williams put the controller in here because the PS5 and the iPad and the Studio work brilliantly together. If you're wanting to do streaming, you can stream straight from here or with a capture card, which I did pick up after doing a lot of research, that you have the Elgato capture card, which if we put that into this bundle with the Elgato, you're looking at $4,000 for all of this. If you don't get the Elgato, you can also bring in a Switch. You're going to be able to do so much more gaming between the M1 Max, a PS5, and a Switch than you're going to be able to do on an M1 Ultra. That's just how it is. Then when you include the fact that you get the portability and versatility of having an iPad in the mix as well, which pairs up to the PS5, if you are doing the gaming on the Studio that is actually optimized for the Studio, you now have a PS5 controller that you can seamlessly pair to the Studio and use it as a controller. You have the keyboard that you can use on the iPad, or you can actually use if you connect it with USB, you can connect it to your Switch, and you can connect it to, obviously, the Studio. You can connect it to the PS5. You can do all of this for the same price as just upgrading from the base model M1 Max to the M1 Ultra. If you're going with where I did, where you upgraded it, okay, you lose the Switch, but you still have a PS5, an iPad Pro, a Mac Studio, a controller that works on all three, the iPad that pairs with all three, the computer that pairs with all three. So why go with the Ultra? So, I mean, unless you're a very specific industry that needs it, at which point I'm guessing that you already have a computer that's doing what you need it to do, I don't really see any purpose in getting it. Now, the M2 is rumored to be coming out here this summer in both the MacBook Pro and the actual Mac Pro home computer that may or may not actually outperform the Mac Studio. Who knows if that's going to happen or not. We'll have to see if that kind of changes some of these features. The other thing that Apple could very easily do would be just release an actual optimized software settings to take advantage of the Ultra over the M1 Max. That's going to make this whole video irrelevant. But in the meantime, you know, at least beginning of 2022, when this first releases, I don't see any purpose of actually spending the extra $2,000 to get the Ultra. But that's just my opinion. I hope it helps. You know, like anything else, it's just my opinion, so it's worth nothing else aside from my opinion. But if you liked the video, if you found this useful, you found this interesting, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment down below, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.